Hello. So I have decided to report on a sexual assault/rape case, which is a felony and a criminal case. This is McDaniel versus Brown. This case was involving a 9-year-old girl who is referred to as Jane Doe and Troy Brown. This took place in Carling, Nevada, around 1 a.m. on January 29th, 1994, where she was raped in her trailer bedroom. Now, Troy and his brother Travis lived in the same trailer park as Jane Doe, and their brother Trent and his wife Raquel lived in a separate trailer across the street from Jane. Troy and both his brothers and the wife Raquel had been to Jane's trailer many times because they were friends with her family, but Jane claimed not to know him. The night of the attack, Pam, who is Jane's mother, went out with Trent and his wife Raquel, while Jane went to Trent's trailer to babysit for about an hour. Trent and Raquel ended up coming home at about 7:30 p.m., and they didn't take Jane home until around 9:30 p.m. Pam did not come home with them because she ended up going out to a different bar with Troy, where they continued to drink and play pool and other games. Jane ended up calling her mom's phone while she was still at the bar with Troy, but he answered, and their conversation, he knew that she was home alone with her little 4-year-old sister. Witnesses claim that Troy had at least 10 shots of vodka that night, along chasing the shots with beer, and that he left the bar around 12:15 a.m. while he was so intoxicated that he continued to vomit on himself while walking home. It was around 1 a.m. when Jane called her mother to tell her that she had been raped. So while the walk home from the bar to Troy's house should have taken 15 minutes max, Troy did not get back to his trailer until 1:30 a.m., an hour and 15 minutes after someone had seen him leave the bar. This would have gave him plenty enough time to attack Jane Doe and get home. There were 2 different witnesses that claimed to see a man wearing dark jeans, a cowboy hat, and a black satin jacket stumbling between the 2 trailers just after 1 a.m. This matched Troy's description 100%. Even though it was dark in the trailer, Jane Doe was able to get somewhat of a description of what her attacker was wearing that night. She says he was wearing a dark jeans, a black jacket with a zipper, and boots. She also strongly remembers him smelling bad. She referred to it as puke, beer, or maybe bad cologne. This would be accurately describing how Troy would have smelled due to the fact that he did vomit on himself on the walk home from the bar to the trailer park. All of this evidence is pointing to Troy being the attacker. Police then recovered semen from Jane Doe's underwear and her rape kit that was a match to Troy's DNA. This was the most incriminating evidence, because the probability of the semen belonging to another man was 1 in 3 million. So there was a 99.999967% chance that Troy was guilty. So while the defense could possibly argue some inconsistencies in Jane Doe's statements, they could not argue the DNA evidence. He did seek post-conviction relief. This is essentially where a convicted person asks the court to review the case for any mistakes or errors, but he was denied this. Troy also did admit to a friend that he was extremely intoxicated and that he has no memory from the night, but he wishes he did remember what actually happened that night. With this being said, he still denies that he has any involvement with this case, and he is not guilty, even after being convicted. Troy was found guilty of sexual assault and sentenced to life with possibility of parole after 10 years. I do agree with this deterrence of life in prison, but I would maybe opt for life without parole, but that's the only difference that I would make. Now, if I were the defense, I would try and push how Jane was never able to clearly identify her assailant. In a photo lineup, she was not able to identify him, nor was she able to identify him at trial. She saw a man on TV who was Troy, and she claimed that's who attacked her. But then she also stated that the man who sent her flowers was her attacker. This was Trent, his brother, not Troy, who sent her flowers. She also claimed to have bitten him during the attack, but there were no bite marks found anywhere on him when he was searched only 4 hours later by police after the rape. So her claims were never consistent, so I would go for that. She also claimed that it was dark in the trailer, which is why she couldn't clearly identify him. But she also says that she had a nightlight plugged in before she went to bed. So this would mean that her assailant would have either taken out the nightlight or switched it off. But any of the fingerprints that they found on the nightlight or anywhere in the trailer did not belong to Troy. I would also argue that his reason for washing clothes when he got home was because he had vomited all over them, and it was not to get rid of any evidence. In the end, even though there was some inconsistencies in her statements, I do not believe he could have gotten away with this because of the DNA evidence that was found in her underwear and her rape kit.